Hello, witchy friends. So good afternoon, Tuesday afternoon. We are 2 days away from the book launch. So going live again, just to talk a little bit more about how the book came to be. And today's actually is really going to be good. I'm excited about what I'm about to talk about. But first, while everybody's kind of getting notified that I'm going live, the book that's coming out in 2 days is called Deep Self Magic, a step-by-step roadmap to spiritual authenticity. It is going to be released, at least in ebook form, on Thursday. We're having some delays with the print, as is the case all around the world right now. But that will come soon thereafter, hopefully very, very soon. Would be great if it was a matter of days, but we will see how that pans out. But we will have a big virtual launch event Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, on Facebook Live, and you can go to deepselfmagic.com for details on all of that. Also, the really exciting thing that's happening on Thursday is that it's the 1-year anniversary of the Waxing Soul podcast. So if you follow me here, I'm sure that you know, and you can see on my feed and in my videos, I've been doing the Waxing Soul now for an entire year, which is super, super, super exciting. And it's not going to be that I am going to talk some about the book on the podcast on Thursday, but also some really great other stuff. It's kind of a retrospective on the year, what we're going to get into in year 2, season 2 of the Waxing Soul, and also talking about, like, specifically, I still wanted to talk about a topic, and I want to kind of talk about embracing the unknown and the power of not letting ourselves be limited by the things that we already know are possible or know we understand. So, to move on with what I wanted to talk about today, I've been talking about how the book came to be, and everything from my own spiritual past history, sort of, the religion I grew up in, and all of the paths that I've been on since, and how that's impacted my work, how, the idea for this book and how it spawned from a larger project and all. Like, there's some cool details if you go to either my IGTV, or if you're watching this on YouTube, the other videos, or it's on my Facebook, it's on deepselfmagic.com. I'm kind of sharing these everywhere. But I would, if you haven't watched the others, there's some cool stuff in there. But I mentioned last night on the live stream, that this was a project that has been difficult, not because anything that I've been writing about is particularly difficult to write about, but that it just fought me the entire way. That every time I sat down with the manuscript and went, okay, no, this time I'm going to sit down, I'm going to organize it, I'm going to fill in the blanks, like I know how this is supposed to go. I would get into it and go, no, this doesn't need to be here. Do I need to even talk about this? Am I making sense? I don't feel like any of this makes sense. And it was just very hard to get it to kind of pull together. And what it ended up becoming, like, the way I resolved that wasn't by just forcing the book to sort of submit to my will, but by actually allowing it to be shadow work for myself. And today I wanted to kind of talk about, in practical terms, what that looked like. And one of the really big lessons that I learned along the way, and kind of how it relates to what's in the book, as far as, like, this is the kind of work that it talks about doing, in at least the first part of the book. So I as you probably know, if you followed me for very long, I've self-published a series of coloring books that is always growing. I've, designed and created a tarot deck. I do a lot of stuff. I know how to self-publish a book as far as the technical stuff. And like almost everything that I've ever done in my life, like I have this tendency to want to do it myself. Like, if I can learn how to do it, if I can do that without asking for help, that's my preferred way to do it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I've been aware for a while that I have some deeper motivations for not wanting to lean on others for help. but that's kind of been part of my identity. This, like, I can figure it out. I can make this work. But the thing is that when it came to doing this book, this was the start of a process that's, so important to me that I kind of had to sit back and go and be honest with myself about, like, I don't know how to, like, I can make the book, but I don't know how to promote it. I don't know how to get it into the hands of, people who will want to read it. I don't know how to do that part. I don't know anything about book distribution or book promotions, or, I don't know how to make that. And I could keep reading blogs, and I could keep leaning on other, authors and finding out what they do. But honestly, I didn't see that getting me anywhere in the past. And here's the thing. The things that we struggle with, and this has been in context, and I think I talk a little bit in the book about it. I will talk more about it in future works, but I have recognized, I think I started recognizing this when I first did my first kind of bout of real shadow work, is that I kind of lost my train of thought there. But anyway, moving on. I don't know where that thought went, but it'll come back. But I realized that, so anyway, I started doing this. I knew I couldn't really be a success at, I know where the thought was going. So I have, thank you for bearing with me on that. I have a lot of projects. I have a lot of ambitions to do things. Like when I've designed a tarot deck or published these books, or for a while I had a brick and mortar business, and they're like, even in my career coming out of college, like there was always this vision of how it could be. And I wanted that success, and I wanted things to happen, but I always held myself back from actually asking for help, or really, utilizing a network of people that, and even getting out and meeting other people who could help, for all sorts of deeper reasons. And I think, one aspect is I really realized that with this book, I didn't want to be held back by that again. I didn't want to repeat that struggle. And the thing is that the things that we struggle with don't point to what's wrong with us. And that's a big message of this book, that those things that we consistently struggle with, it's not that there's something wrong with us. It's not that we need to be fixed, but it does point to how we've created shadow parts of ourselves. If you're not familiar with shadow work, it explains it. And I will talk a little bit more about it. It's a Carl Jung thing. It's not the bad parts of us, but it's the stuff that we need to evolve and embrace, and depending on what they are, they're things that we need to actually process. We can't just shove them away and pretend that they aren't us. So this struggle is something that I've repeated over and over again. And I knew that I didn't want to repeat it again. And this also coincided. So I've mentioned a few times, quite a bit, I think, on my podcast, that in my quote unquote real job, day job, I coach entrepreneurs. And I had gone through a period of time in that job where I had a hard time recruiting, bringing in clients, because I'm not always open to coaching myself. And for those of you who maybe have kind of gotten into like law of attraction stuff, it's not that because I didn't spend money on coaching, I couldn't get anybody else to spend money on coaching. It wasn't that, but it was that if I couldn't admit the need in myself to ask for help from experts, then I was only going to attract other people who also didn't want to admit that they needed help. That we attract the same things. It's not that our behaviors, I'll get more into that in the book, topic for a different day. Manifestation and all of that, that's a huge part of what's in the book. But I think it's, there was a wake-up call in there that if I, as long as I clung to that idea that I didn't need anybody else, I could do it without, that people weren't going to come to me for my expertise either. So luckily, this book kind of, this impetus to make this happen also came at a time when I was opening myself up to, there are, maybe I should get a therapist. Maybe I should, look at the projects that I have and look at what kind of help I need. And I happened to meet Judith from Carnelian Moon Publishing. And it was sort of the universe going, well, here's the help you need. So, and that's kind of what this book has largely been an exercise in. It's been an exercise in being honest with myself and accepting help and working through my own sort of hang-ups about visibility and all sorts of stuff. Like I think the manuscript wasn't going to come together until I got straight on all of that. So part of what I want this book to do is get you asking, how much spiritual growth, and really think about how much spiritual growth in your life has come from things like really super spiritual type activities and reading spiritual books and doing all that stuff that we think of as spiritual activities, and how much of it actually comes from just day-to-day lessons that you learn from examining your life and reflecting on the struggles that you have and how to work through them. And that latter part, that is where spiritual growth comes from. It's not from going to church or doing rituals or being part of a, coven or having the right books on the shelf or following the right leader or reading the right, none of that is, they're all tools. They can all help. But it's kind of like, you can have a shed full of gardening tools and that doesn't mean that you've grown any plants. All of that stuff is fine, but all of the work centers around our day-to-day lives and the things that we actually come up against and struggle with, right? And if we keep our spiritual lives separate from our mundane lives, we miss out on a ton of lessons and chances to grow and chances to develop and, to grow as people, especially since what we're all really trying to do in life is thrive in our lives, right? Thrive in our environment and to grow into the versions of ourselves that can thrive in the moment. So that's, of all of the story that I've told so far in these lives, that's the real core of this book. And what I hope this book to be for you is really a guide from going through, from where you are now to figuring out who you are authentically, to digging out some of those shadow aspects and integrating them and figuring out, who you are, how to embody who you are, how to be that in the world, and then how to actually facilitate your own evolution, because who you are isn't who you're going to be. We're always growing and changing, and to take kind of hold of that, not control, but to hold the reins on that journey of evolution into your future self. So super excited to bring that out to everybody in 2 days. Thursday is the big launch day, the 28th. It's the day before my birthday, so that's also exciting. The virtual launch event starts on Thursday night, October 28th at 8:30 p.m. Central on Facebook Live. You can find that link at deepselfmagic.com. There's going to be 2 weeks of giveaways starting on Thursday. You can register for that at deepselfmagic.com. All sorts of fun stuff. And don't forget to catch the podcast episode Thursday morning as well. And thank you for watching.